I am in love with my brother's wife, and I touched her while she was sleeping. They've been together for about 10 years now. I didn't meet her until about a year into their relationship, and we became friends quickly. She's everything I have ever wanted in a woman. She's intelligent, interested in the same things I am, funny, and beautiful. We've hung out many times, and I'm going insane because of my feelings for her. I don't know what to do. I was staying with them for a few days in their apartment and had to use the bathroom. You have to go through their bedroom to get to it. So she left the door unlocked out of consideration for me, I guess. My brother was at work. It was early morning, and she was still asleep. I walked in and saw one of her breasts had fallen out of her shirt while she was sleeping, and before I could stop myself, I touched her. I hurried to the bathroom after she moved a little because I was afraid she'd wake up. I love my brother, but I'm also hopelessly in love with this woman, and I feel so guilty about violating her and my brother's trust. I got paid to humiliate a man into losing weight. It was funny. He gave me an offer of weekly money just to humiliate him into losing weight. He had an intended goal and everything. Every week, I was to demand a weight check for default money, and any additional check I made at any other time that detected any rise in weight gain. Even if he just ate a meal, I got paid even more for. On top of all that, I got to give him commands intended to humiliate him. And what I forced him to do was pretty off-the-chart stuff, TBH. I was surprised by how this man had basically no limits, even willing to do the things in public. Got myself some sweet luxury cosmetics out of this arrangement, which was snazzy. However, the deal ended when one day he vanished from all contacts. I assume his wife found out and labeled me a homewrecker. Strange times, 2023. I gave a lactose-intolerant customer dairy on purpose. I know this sounds weird, but when I worked at Starbucks, there was a regular customer that was very difficult and rude. I was warned of this customer on my first day of training. She came in every morning and would try to rush the workers on doing their job and makes other customers feel uncomfortable. 3 months into working, she came in one morning and caused absolute hell. She was complaining about her drink while one of my coworkers was making the drink. As soon as she got it, she accidentally spills it and asks for a completely different drink. I was so fed up. She wanted a frappuccino. She went to the bathroom while we were making the new order. I switched with my coworker and made the drink. Instead of almond milk, I made the frappuccino with regular milk. The drink was ready by the time she left the bathroom. She takes the drink and takes a sip and didn't complain. 5 hours later, she calls the Starbucks from the hospital, and I was the one who picked up. She got in a car accident trying to rush to a bathroom. She said she shitted her pants. I couldn't be any more happier that she was safe, but got her karma. When I was a kid, I would wipe my ass with towels that were hanging up. This is something I've never admitted to a single person. I'm not sure at what age I stopped doing this, but throughout most of my childhood I had this OCD compulsion where every time I would finish wiping I would stand up, walk over to the towel rack, and give it 1 or 2 more thorough swipes. I couldn't not do it. I felt unclean if I didn't. It wasn't until I got a little older that I realized just how fucking fucked up it was. My older siblings spent their entire childhoods drying their faces off with my shitty remains. I've been mortified about it for years, but am actually in tears of laughter writing this out right now. Edit. Nobody was supposed to see this. I shit on my neighbor's doorstep. So back when I was 10, my dad asked me if I wanted to make 20. I accepted. The catch: I had to shit on our neighbor's doorstep. It was clear my dad had beef with this woman. She woke in the morning and tried to blame our chihuahua. My dad yelled at her saying that the shit was bigger than our dog. Impossible. The point is I don't feel bad. Forever daddy's girl. How many of you judge women who are interested in FWB or Netflix and chill? I am a grown woman and I have been single for a long time, didn't have sex either. And now I would like to have a friend with benefits or someone for Netflix and chill. But I am not sure about what men think of this. I heard a lot of men think less of a woman who has sex with them quickly on the first date or similar, or is not really interested in a relationship. How common is this, and what do you think? Edit. I don't intend to have multiple FWBs. I don't even use dating apps. I would only have one FWB. Also safe sex.
Why would someone sit in a running car all night? Where I live, someone sits in their car for hours and hours and hours. All night, and the car is running, lights on, I can hear the gas running. I can't imagine what he must pay in gas. ETA. He is not homeless. He leaves the car at night at very early hours. And he does leave the car at times, and I've seen him go into the same house. It could be sound issue. The house has a ton of people there and a few kids.
I used to chill in random people's houses when they weren't home. Years ago, when I lived in my previous city, I used to walk around neighborhoods that were not mine and look for houses where the occupants were clearly not home, and then see if any entries were unlocked. If I could get in through a door or window, I would usually go into their house and just chill on their couch, sometimes watch their TV and eat their food. Also, most people's dogs are idiots when it comes to rondos entering the home. I just took jerky treats with me, and most were like, herder, new human friendo, so I chilled with random people's pets to lol. I used a raw chicken breast I stole out of one house's fridge to fuck with people. When I was drunk one time by eating the entire thing raw with my bare hands while making intense eye contact. I was never caught for any of this. I stole chocolate from a grave and live with the guilt. I grew up in a rough area in the UK. This happened early 2000s, so I was about 10 or so. I was hanging out with a friend, same age, and one area we went was a graveyard. I think we were looking for ghosts or something like that. We came across a grave with an unopened Easter egg box with chocolate. Needless to say, we ate it. All these years later, I still feel guilty. I don't whose grave it was. It was probably a child's. I know we were children too, but I can't help the guilt. I told myself I'd never tell anyone this. But basically, what's in the title? Long story short, I did a terrible job at asking a girl out in elementary school. And it gave me a crippling fear of rejection, so I never even approached girls I liked as a teen. I learned how to masturbate from a friend. Like I literally went into his bathroom and beat it to thoughts of my high school crush while he waited in his room. That was the first time I ever orgasmed. A friend of mine hooked me up with one of her friends who liked me. Shouts out to her lol, that girl became my first everything. My first kiss, my first sexual experience, my first girlfriend. I thought I was gonna marry her. Then she cheated on me with her ex. It destroyed me, but I didn't break up with her because she cried. But I did start cheating on her a lot. That's when I started paying for sex. I don't even remember how I learned about it exactly. But Google is a very intuitive site. So at around 16 or 17, I bought my first escort. I stole the money from my dad's drawer. TBH, it was awesome. She was beautiful and even let me hit raw and bust all over her chest and face. I felt like the man. I felt like a porn star. I was also broke and didn't get to see her ever again. Stealing from my dad made me feel like shit. After I got a job though, it was a wrap. I remember paying for whatever I saw in porn. Older women, college girls, etc. I had a few relationships with actual friends. But I had already developed this habit. I spent a shameful amount over the years, but no one ever knew. I just recently stopped. Because I managed to find a beautiful girlfriend who is literally changing my life, RN.
I'm sharing this because I want to stop lying to myself and face who I am and the decisions I've made. They say it's the only way forward, and trust me. I've tried everything else. I want to be a better man, so I'm laying it all bare to see exactly how much work I have to do. If I put it out there, I can't lie anymore. Thanks for reading. Try not to flame me too much in the comments. A friend and I set to random strangers to unknowingly meet up with each other. We posted an ad for a free gaming console on Craigslist. Picked a couple of people who emailed. Chose a Walmart parking lot as the designated meetup spot for each of them. Exchanged their vehicle descriptions to each other. They proceeded to meet up with each other, thinking they were getting a free console. We didn't get to witness the meetup, but I imagine they were confused lol. We later got emails from both of them cussing us out.
I used to think I was white when I was younger. It's a bit weird, but for context, I am like caramel skin tones, as I would describe it. And my dad is very dark, while my mom is the same skin color as me, slightly darker. But I would look at my palms and sense they were way lighter than my actual skin color, so I asked my dad if I was born white, and just one day my skin changed. I also used to think I was white because I felt like I was too light to be considered colored, and I could never find my ecstasy skin tone when drawing myself. It was a very weird time for me, just a bit of a funny memory to look back on. When I was younger, I saw a lady drop $100. I picked it up and used all of it on Yu-Gi-Oh cards right in front of her, basically. She dropped the $100 bill in one of the aisles of this game store. I picked it up, and I remember wanting to give it back. But I was there to get Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I had recently lost all my good cards to my friend in a bet. So this was a miracle of sorts to make a solid comeback. So I kept it. I thought the woman had left the store, so I went to go purchase my cards. Right as I gave my money to the cashier, she walks up behind me, watching me buy my $100 worth of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This isn't a normal thing to do. She said nothing though. And I left before she went to go buy her items, so I didn't have to see the look on her face when she realized. There is no doubt in my mind that once she realized she was $100 short, she would make the assumption it was the kid in front of her in line who spent $100 on cards. I just want to say, I am a different person now, smiley face. When I was younger, I would make fake puke at 3 a.m. to get out of school. Now, let me preface this by saying I was clearly in no way a normal child. Most kids would simply go to their parents' room, say "Mommy, I'm sick," and proceed to get a day off school. I did no such thing. I nearly never got sick. I'm not sure if it was just my immune system or a lack of being exposed to shit, but I think I got sick to times from grades 1 to 9. By sick I mean sick enough to puke. I was always jealous of the kids that were able to get out of school because they were sick, since I never got to miss school. So when I wanted to get out of having to go, I would sneak into the kitchen at 3 in the morning, take some leftovers and shove them into a Tupperware container with some hot water. I would then take the leftover mush and dump it into the toilet at a reasonably puke-sounding rate and fake gag. This would normally wake up my mom, as her room was right next to the bathroom. I'd then shove the Tupperware container in the cupboard under the sink and wait for her to come in. Mind you, I only did this for ish times over the course of several years, but it worked every time. Totally don't know if my mom caught on or knew, but I feel like there's no way she couldn't have known. Just thought I'd share and see if anybody else was as weird as me growing up lol. Why are some men like this? Venting. This Friday, I went on a date with a guy my friend set me up with. The date was goodish, but I do not see a future here. I do not think I can sit through another date with him talking about crypto. But I also do not want to be rude. After the date, he asked me if we could go back to his place. I told him no. He kept insisting that it will be fun. He got mad and asked to pay him back his $25. The whole meal costed $50. He said if he is not getting sex tonight, then he doesn't want to waste his money. So, it is only fair if I pay my half back. I told him I am not a fucking prostitute that you can buy for $50. Even they cost more than that. And being the petty person that I am, I paid him $30 and told him $5 are the tips. Later, when I arrived home, he messaged on Instagram. He said that he wants to advise me that if I do not want to put out, then I shouldn't even go on dates and waste a guy's money. That he is a nice guy and that women do not appreciate nice guys. And he told me I will hit the wall soon and I will regret rejecting a good guy like him. I obviously blocked him and told my friend to not set me up with clowns like this. This guy is 29, almost 30, and still acts like a child. I thought these clowns existed in memes. Never thought I would encounter one in real life. I am in love with my brother's wife, and I touched her while she was sleeping. They've been together for about 10 years now. I didn't meet her until about a year into their relationship, and we became friends quickly. She's everything I have ever wanted in a woman. She's intelligent, interested in the same things I am, funny, and beautiful. We've hung out many times, and I'm going insane because of my feelings for her. I don't know what to do. I was staying with them for a few days in their apartment and had to use the bathroom. You have to go through their bedroom to get to it. So she left the door unlocked out of consideration for me, I guess. My brother was at work. It was early morning, and she was still asleep. I walked in and saw one of her breasts had fallen out of her shirt while she was sleeping, and before I could stop myself, I touched her. I hurried to the bathroom after she moved a little because I was afraid she'd wake up. I love my brother, but I'm also hopelessly in love with this woman, and I feel so guilty about violating her and my brother's trust. I destroyed my co-worker's life. So there was this guy at my work who always treated me like shit and tried to ostracize me. So a few weeks ago I had enough and decided to write him. He started to say racist things to me, and having dealt with this kind of people my whole life, I decided that it would be the best to just report him to my boss, which I did. What I also did was tell a girl he was talking to, which told him some secrets that he tells everyone about her private life after that. And after I sent his girlfriend some messages which showed that he's been secretly writing with this girl I've mentioned before, which she obviously didn't want him to. After I was finished fucking up his romance life, I reported to the police that he had some mods in his car which aren't legal in my country. You all probably know how this ended. Taking this guy's life apart has been one of the most funniest, fulfilling, and enjoyable things I've ever did, and I wish I could have done more for all these weeks of him bullying me. I have gynophobia, fear of women, non-fiction. For context, the only other female family member I have is my mom. And my friends were male-dominated, so I never really had connections to females much. I don't know why, but I started having gynophobia when I was 7, and I would absolutely despise women. I would be distant from them, and I was disgusted by the idea of relationships. However, my gynophobia calmed down when I was 12 because I actually started talking to some females, other than my mom. I grew out of the hating phase, but I was still a bit scared of women because the grand majority of the class one never talked to are women. And I get more hate from them, but I stopped fearing them as badly. But my gynophobia is resurfacing now because all the female friends I got after 12 have never worked out, and we basically become regular people after a few months, while most of my male friends would stay for a while. My male teachers and tutors would be much more nicer to me, and my first impression would always be a better result from a man. And women would always judge me more than men. Of course, I'm not saying all females are like that, but in general I always create longer, deeper bonds with other guys. I'm much more comfortable around men. Men care about me way more. I always end up cooperating with other dudes, etc. Because of recent events, I have gynophobia again. My boyfriend has been lying to my face. So me and my boyfriend have been together for almost 9 months. Since day one, has claimed to be adopted, claimed to have all these things wrong with him, and claims to have a scar on his head from a childhood car accident. A couple nights ago, he had heart complications and was taken to a hospital. There, they did a bunch of tests, blood work, CAT scan, etc., and the tests revealed he did not have any scarring on his head and that he had a sinus infection. The doc told him if left untreated, it could become a brain infection. He turned around and told me and our roommates that he had a brain infection. We also found out he told the hospital staff that he was actually not adopted. He also lied and said he fainted and fell to the floor and hit his head. We had kept him from standing or falling the entire time. Am I the jerk for wanting to break up with him when he gets home? Edit. He was taken in for a low pulse, but we found out from his doctors that it's just outright laziness and disregard for health and hygiene. Update. I'm gonna break up with him tonight after we get off work. Thank you all for your honest responses and for the reassurance. I'll do another update if anything serious happens. Am I the jerk for running over my 3-year-old nephew? Wait, let me explain. Me 18 male had family coming over, and my nephew asked if he could use my phone. I said yes. But when he got my phone, he started looking at nude pics of Emma Watson and aesthetic tapes of Kim Kardashian. And he wanted to see more, so he clicked and downloaded a bunch of websites on my phone that got me a virus. So I grabbed my Toyota Prius, and when they were leaving I ran him over. I stole $40 from my mom to buy a can of Pringles Light. Back in grade school, when I was about 10, I stole $40 from my mother's purse to use whenever I wanted to buy something. Once I got to school that day though, I saw one of the other kids had a can of dill pickle Pringles, which are still my absolute favorite to this day. So my stupid 10-year-old self gave him all $40 for that single and enjoyed every single of those delicious fuckers. When I came to school the next day, though, the same kid I bought the Pringles from gave me back the $40 while crying because apparently his mom screamed at him to give it back. And now he couldn't buy candy with it because his mom wouldn't let him keep it. I held on to that money for a couple days until my mom started looking around and asking if I had seen the money laying around since it wasn't in her purse. So once I realized how I'd get my ass beat if she found out, I hid it under the couch and found it about 30 minutes later. I never got caught but still look back on it and laugh that I essentially got some Pringles for free from the whole ordeal.
I slept with my friend's mom for 10 years. I'm not going to post many details about myself. But starting when I was, 14 years old, I endured a great deal of torment from one friend. In a group of my friends, it lasted for about 4 years. We were a small group of kids, and I didn't have a lot of friends. It eventually subsided, and as we got older, he was sort of an on-off kind of friend. But I never really recovered emotionally from the trauma I had to endure for those 4 years. On one particularly bad day, this friend called and invited me over to his place to hang out. I headed over, but some other friends had come over after he called, and he decided he didn't want me around, so he locked the doors to his house and pretended like he wasn't home. But I could hear him laughing at me, knocking on the door, and saying all this really mean stuff about me. So I turned around and went back home, tail between my legs. Really humiliated. This one instance was the straw that broke this camel's back. We weren't really friends after that. I eventually got a girlfriend and went away to college. He worked endless, dead-end jobs until he met his first wife. Jump ahead 10 years. Him back visiting family, and on a whim, I decided to give this friend's mom a call. She was really a nice person. As a kid she taught me a lot about the arts, creative people, etc. She was a painter and art history teacher, and was very sexy. Her gay brother also lived in her house. I was a smart kid, an artsy nerd. She used to talk to me a lot more than my other friends because I was interested in art and literature and music. So anyway, as we're talking on the phone that day, I asked her to join me for lunch and a day at 2 museums in the city. As it turned out, she was free the next day, so we made it a date. I picked her up and we spent it together. Lunch, museums. The whole time she was walking with me and holding my arm. It was really quite nice. I was a young, successful man working in advertising and design in Boston. She was quite happy to parade around with me. As the day was coming to a close, she wanted to go to her favorite bar for a glass of wine. While we were driving there, she was really handsy, touching my arms and shoulders, leaning over and rubbing the back of my head. Things only spiraled from there. We finished the night at a hotel. Why a hotel? Well, as it turns out, this old friend of mine had moved back home, and he would have been around, so there was no way we were going back to her place. That night we began what ended up being a 10-year affair. To this day, this old friend has no idea I was sleeping with his mom. She kept it very secret, and on one occasion even kind of hinted that she knew I had to deal with a lot of shit from her son when we were growing up. Whatever it was wonderful. She'd fly to Boston and stay with me for a week twice a year. I'd go back and visit family and spend the week with her. And one summer she even stayed with me in Boston for 2 months. My old friend thought she was at an artist retreat. Nope, she was getting laid every morning and every night, spending her days on the beach while I was at my office, and traveling with me around New England on the weekends. For those 10 years we had a great time, and part of me really liked knowing I was finally getting even with my dickhead old friend. He ended up being a 3x divorced asshole with a lot of problems. He still lives in the same small town. Has 4 kids from 2 of his wives. His pride and joy is his pontoon boat. I still see Faye for lunch or dinner when I visit, and she's always very loving and affectionate. But we're no longer having sex. We're more like ex-lovers meeting for lunch in Paris.